All right, here we are, our third lesson from chapter 1 in our book, Art Talk. And we are continuing to talk about the media and processes of art. This next media and process of art is photography. So photography has changed quite a bit these last 20 years, but especially around the year 2000 when digital photography really started coming onto the scene. But photography is the capturing image on a light-sensitive surface. Capturing images on a light-sensitive surface. So light comes in through the lens of the camera, and it might hit a mirror, it might not, and then it hits a light-sensitive surface. And the amount of time that light is allowed through the camera will change that light-sensitive surface so that it shows the image. Now, back in the day, we used to shoot film in cameras, and it's less and less and less something that we do nowadays. But your film used to look something like this, and it would have a track on the edges of it. That's where the camera would grab onto it and turn it so that it could go to the next frame, and you would have, pictures, and these would be negatives. And then when you shine light through this negative later to make a print, you could print it on paper. Very, very different nowadays than it used to be. All right, sculpture is the last media and process of art that we're going to look at, but we're going to look at it in depth. So, sculpture. So this is art that takes up space. So there are two types of sculpture that we're going to look at as far as not necessarily the media or the way it's created, but the application of the sculpture. So there is freestanding. So if you have freestanding sculpture, it means that it is surrounded by space. And then there is relief sculpture. And this means that it is attached to a surface, to a flat background. So if you were in class, we would go on the internet and I would show you some examples of these. But since we're here online, I'll show you what we have in the book. There is this freestanding sculpture on page 16 in our book, and it is this cowboy guy. And you can see this is freestanding because you can walk all the way around it. There's space all the way around this sculpture. Now, a lot of times, if you have a relief sculpture, now you can see in the background here, there's this, I don't remember what this is called, the face of this building. A lot of times there will be sculpture here that is relief sculpture, but I don't see any there. Let me see if I can, there is one example of relief sculpture in the book. See if I can find it real quick. Should have had this ready to go. here is an example of relief sculpture. It's not the one I was looking for, but here in this Egyptian art, you can see that this is sculpture on a flat surface. This is on page 44. I'm going to quick see if I can find the one that I was thinking of. Maybe not. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's a couple different reliefs. Here, this is relief sculpture. It's these guys on a flat background. Here's another relief sculpture. These guys on a flat background. I think you're kind of getting the idea of what we're talking about. Okay. Now, we're going to look at some different ways to create sculpture. And there are 4 different ways we're going to talk about. So one is modeling. And if you were in class right now, I would give you a piece of clay and we would spend all kinds of fun time molding the clay to make different animals and different designs and stuff. So modeling is when we take something like clay, for instance, and we build up and shape it. Build up and shape. And this is an additive process. So hopefully you played with clay or Play-Doh and you can remember making little animals and things out of it. That is modeling. Now carving, I'm planning to put some link in the description of the YouTube video of some carving and some casting and some assembly, these other videos here. Well, probably not assembly, but carving and casting, a video to watch that shows an example of this. So carving is the sculptor cuts or chips away at the material. Sculptor cuts or chips away at the material. It might be wood, it might be stone, it might be, a variety of things to create sculpture. Now, if the other one was a additive process, we're building it up. Carving is going to be a subtractive process because we're cutting things away. Subtractive. All right, 2 more ways to create sculpture. We've got casting. And for carving, I'm going to link a video, hopefully, that is people creating sculpture out of wood using chainsaws. It's pretty cool. For casting, I've got a cool video that I'm going to try to link to that is the building of toilets, which they use the casting process to create toilets, and it's a pretty cool video. So this is pouring liquid metal or other material. A lot of times with art it'll be metal, but it can be lots of other substance. It could be lots of different things like clay, porcelain, into a mold to harden. All right, let's go ahead and look at assembly. This is the last bit for today's lesson. Assembly is a more modern technique, and it is more about finding things and putting them together in an interesting way. So this is artist gathers and joins together a variety of materials to construct the sculpture. So you do have an example of this in the book. And here it is on page 17. So as you read and you look at that, here's an example of it. So this is the artist gathered a bunch of different materials and they put it together and they made a sculpture out of it. This tends to be the kind of sculpture that doesn't totally appeal to me quite as much as some other types of sculpture. But there it is, and it can be pretty cool. Some artists can do some pretty cool things with that kind of sculpture. So that's what that's the assembly type of sculpture. And that's the end of our third section of chapter 1. Good luck on the homework.